with what you've got there, you can see the other chap driving up and you'll stop it, so you're going to slow play down.
Are you from Scotland, sir?
Close.
Have you ever been to St. Andrews?
I have. And the reason
They don't
why,
have trees
the
between all
reason
the
why
homes there and stuff.
trees do not grow on links courses. And that's why there are no trees in the city. You can grow shrubs, you can grow bushes. And I've played in Lancashire, Rowland, Birkdale, all those courses I've played. And all around London as well. People like holes divided up. You know? One thing, you right about neat bunkers on, when you drive up.
Yeah.
But the Olympic Club has one fairway bunker,
Yeah.
where they play the Open.
Right. And it's one of my least favorite courses I've ever been to. So, as I said last night, it's an important thing in this type of discussion to understand that golf course architecture is subjective. It really is. You know, one guy likes this course, another guy likes that course, and they both hate the course that each other like. That's the way it goes. So I always say to people, if a golf course drains properly, everything else is subjective. I want a bunker there, Ron wants it there. Who's right, who's wrong? I guess the only thing I got going for me is I've been studying this stuff for 20 years and building some of the best courses in Canada and renovating some of the best clubs in Canada for the last 15. So I'd like to think some of my experience might trump some of the arguments against me, but at the same time, it doesn't always. All I can do is present my ideas for the Derrick, and hopefully, you know, at least a few people will think they're kind of interesting. So, should I take questions, Ron, or
I think you need to increase your sample.
Ron just suggested maybe we should wait to the end for the questions. I'm almost there too. He's the moderator, so I defer to him. I apologize. Anyhow, view of your current third hole, which is the proposed second. I am actually a very big fan of the location of this hole. I think it's a great par 3 with a classic shot over the ravine. I simply think that we can jazz up the look of the hole by rebuilding the bunkers to be a little bit more visual from the tees. So there you go, the proposed number 2. The next hole, which is your current number 2 and would become number 3. Similarly, I love the tee shot. You know, it's an excellent tee shot over the ravine. The whole corridor is fine. But I think, again, we can really jazz up the hole by adding some bunkers. You know, again, that not only visually enhance the hole, but at the same time, you know, create some playing interest that's currently not there. Actually, I was amazed today being out there how narrow that fairway is. It paced it off. It's interesting that this week's U.S. Open, the average width of a fairway during the U.S. Open, which is the strictest test of driving in golf, is 28.6 yards wide. I walked a few of your fairways today, 18.2. They were about 18.6, maybe. So you could probably host the U.S. Open here next year if you block it. And the rough is brutal too. This is a view from the left side of your 11th green, where I think that this particular par 3 hole would actually be played better from for a couple of different reasons. In my opinion, the current 12 tees are kind of in a dangerous spot relative to the tee shots on 13. And by shifting these tees left of the 11th green, it would allow us to kind of soften up the dog leg off the tee on 13 as well. And secondly, by having the tees left of 11th green, we can orient the hole to play away from the adjacent property line, which is important. And we can get some additional length out of the hole as well to kind of create a little bit more variety amongst your par 3s. This could be up to 240 yards long if we wanted it to be, which would be interesting. So you'd end up having to remove those trees, and that looks very intimidating, but it's more of a visual trick than anything. That bunker that you see in the foreground is actually designed to just take away that look that I described earlier of constantly seeing green grass, green grass, green grass off every tee. That bunker would be probably 30, 40 yards short of the green with plenty of fairway behind it. The forward tees would be oriented more to the right so that those people playing the forward tees wouldn't be carrying the bunkers. It would be the back tee and the main tee people that would be up on an elevated tee, be hitting over this bunker. which would also you know, add to the diversity of the looks of the par 3 holes on the golf course as well. Current number 13, which is the proposed number 6, par 5, played this hole today. Again, you know, the unfortunate thing is there's, comparatively, again, there's very little interest off the tee and on the second shot for the layup. Particularly the layup shot is quite boring because you're basically just trying to hit it down straight without having to deal with any hazards. So we're proposing to add some bunkers down on the right in the second landing area, leaving plenty of room to play down the left. But again, it's strategy, right? If the green is bunkered left, you really want to get over to the right side of the fairway to probably have a favorable angle to play into the green. So that's why you stagger bunkers as you're shown. You know, the bunkers in the second shot landing area on the right, the green side bunkers on the left. You kind of get the holes twisting and turning around these hazards rather than just continually playing straight through these hole corridors. And actually one of my favorite recommendations on this particular hole, as I mentioned earlier, if you look at the current view, you know, you see the big driving range net down behind the green. In an ideal world, if we could get it to work out properly, you know, we would replace that with a nice hill feature covered in native grass, maybe plant those hills with some trees and some bushes and whatnot to increase the elevation. And hopefully, again, replace the nets as that buffer and safety between the golf course and the range. This is one of the new holes that's being proposed for the golf course, which basically takes from the tees on your current 15th hole, we would create a par 3 hole of about 195, 200 yards. You know, we were talking today on 15T, before I had even played the hole. I mean, it's an incredibly awkward and dangerous situation. Again, Trevor Goblin told us that there was a professional event out here 2 days ago, was it? Yesterday? And you're talking about pros, you know, some of the best players. They're standing on the tee. 2 guys tried to cut the corner. The one guy ended up in the right fringe on 17 green, and your pro, Trevor, was on the green. And there were players playing on the green in another group. You know, again, very, very, very unfortunate situation that's less than ideal. And, you know, the idea would be to get rid of that dog leg to improve that safety and to, frankly, make a couple of better holes. So the first hole would be this par 3. Again, 195, 200 yards. Then what you do if you've looked at the map and if you'd like to come on the course tour tomorrow, I think several people were quite impressed this morning about you know, where this was. It's difficult to interpret on the map sometimes, but you walk off this green back left of the trees and play a new par 4 that just basically straight away down the second half of the 15th hole into the location of the current 16th green. And these would be the 8th and the 9th holes. Another one of the new holes being proposed is a par 3 again, which basically replaces your 5th hole. I actually hit a great shot on 5 today that proved to me how dangerous number 5 is. Daryl gave me a wrong yardage. Smashed right into the net, and I had like a 12-footer for birdie. I never thought of the positive ramifications of the net like that, but boy, oh boy, that my ball was. And plus, again, aesthetically, the net really isn't the best thing that you want out here if you want the most attractive golf course that you can possibly have. But anyway, if you just look at this 2D presentation, this is your 5th fairway right here. Obviously the pond, and your 5th green is right here. The net is represented approximately where the dotted line is. So what we're proposing to do is to create a new, what will be the 15th hole that plays from your current 7th tees, straight away through a line of evergreen trees there to a green that's kind of set. This would be the alternate green in number 5. So this new green for 15 would be in the right rough area for number 5 currently. You walk over, we build some tees on the alternate green site, and we'd make a small fill in the existing pond and create a 140-yard-ish par 3. It's a beautiful site. Again, I think everybody that was on the course tour this morning, once you actually take a look at this on the golf course, I think it's a bit more impressive than looking at this 2D map. But this is basically the view from that alternate green on 5. There's your 6 tees. You know, the green would essentially be from the right-hand side of 6 tees, small fill in the pond in this area, which is basically that. Tees for the next hole, which would become the 17th, would be up in behind the evergreen trees there. And the interesting thing about that too is I think it's a great improvement to the tee shot at what is your current 6th hole. There's a really nice valley that runs down the right-hand side of the fairway on the 6th hole. Right now you play straight up the fairway, obviously. But by shifting the tees over to the right, the valley becomes kind of a diagonal hazard off the tees. So it's going to be an interesting tee shot. Because the valley's on a diagonal, we propose to put a few bunkers in the upslope of that valley. It's going to be one of those interesting bite off as much as you can chew kind of tee shots. You'd be standing there looking at the diagonal valley and thinking to yourself, where's the point that I can carry over that feature, which is a much more interesting tee shot. Obviously, view into your current 6th green after that cool diagonal tee shot. Again, I really like the way this hole is sited, but visually there's no pizzazz to it really. So what we're proposing is to add a couple of bunkers, green side bunker on the right, a bunker short left, which would actually end up probably being an aiming point for some people on the tee shot after the tees are shifted to the right. And what we'd like to do too, because the 7th tees are here, would be the 15th tees in the rerouting plan. We're going to probably try to cut off the traffic going to the left side so that it doesn't disrupt people on that particular tee. There's plenty of room to take a path around the right-hand side and then around the back of the green there. And lastly, view into your 9th green, which would become the 18th hole. Again, just a proposal for some nice greenside bunkers. The only hole on the plan that actually has the fairway approach into the green cut off. Just again, for the sake of diversity. So now to the important part. Daryl and myself, but I got to give a lot of credit to Daryl, has done a lot of research and put together some cost estimates relative to 3 options that Ron mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. Obviously, the first option has been labeled status quo, and that would be to just go out with $100,000 or $200,000 annually and try to fix those deficiencies that we've described, bunker drainage, etc., etc. Never the best way to do it. Whether I'm involved or not. I've seen it happen. I mean, with $100,000 or $200,000 annually, you're going to have a golf course consistently under construction for 20 years. By the time you finish the last repair, you'll be starting over at the beginning, and Daryl will be banging his head against a brick wall, probably. But that is an option. Option 2 is to simply go out, leave the golf course as it is, and fix all those identified deficiencies. Again, through quite a bit of research that Daryl's done with contractors, irrigation designers, etc., etc., the estimate to fix those deficiencies is between $3.4 and $4.2 million. Option 3 would be to fix the identified problems and go ahead and improve the layout and the design of the course as being proposed. And the estimated cost for that would be $4.5 to $5.5 million. So essentially a difference between about $1.3 million to enhance the design along with fixing all of those deficiencies and problems that need to be fixed. Construction